KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're the Real Estate Rat Pack. Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Just in the nick of time right there, didn't I?
Yeah. I'm texting you. You got 60 seconds. You're in the elevator.
Exactly. I was in the elevator like 60 seconds, and then guess who made it here for the duet?
Kelso had the limo stop off and pick up donuts before he came in. You know, he's just running a little bit late.
You know how it goes. Every once in a while, you got to do that.
The limo guy's tapping his watch. You know, looking.
He's
in
like,
the
"Hey,
shop.
man, you know, you got to get out of here." You know, he's you know, but the problem is the crowd.
Yeah.
When I got there, the crowd was all around. They wouldn't let me out of the place. That is correct. You know, the police escort also could not get the people off the street.
I recognize you. You're that guy from the radio.
Yes, that is correct. You know, I tell them all the time, I've got a face for radio.
All the time.
All the time.
Oh, wow.
Cheers.
You know what? That's like one of my favorite comments. If anybody says, "You look familiar," I say, "You might know me from radio."
and they give you a 30-second blank.
Yeah, it takes a few seconds, and it usually hits them, yeah. So.
That is correct.
Too funny. That's too funny.
Not a bad one, actually.
Well, I'm so glad that you can make it today. I thought you decided to take a holiday weekend off, and so everyone's here today.
Yeah, everyone's here as usual.
But I won't be here next week.
I know that is correct.
I will be in San Antonio.
You'll be in San Antonio.
Time.
I'll be serving time for the Texas Association. I'm a regional vice president for the Texas Association of Realtors, and I've been doing that for about 12 years. And this is right now. It's my last year. I hadn't been reassigned.
Well, what are you going to do when that's up, Rob?
I have a life, maybe.
I'm going to look into crocheting.
You know, I'm still on committee.
Macrame.
Yeah, you know, I'm still chairman for the professional standards. I'm
right.
I'll be chair for the risk management. So I'm still doing a lot of volunteer work.
That is correct. Well, you know, you're my go-to guy when I have a question about real estate.
Well,
or if anybody else has a question about real estate.
I get a lot of those phone calls every week about what's going on. So we're here today, and you know what we're doing is we're going to talk about post-inspection services type things. Because a lot of times, you know, when Ashley goes out, you know, Ashley A.B. Bowles, who's one of our great sponsors, goes out and inspects a home, and sometimes an inspection leads to another inspection.
That is correct.
And with us today is John Dowdy with Permapeer, who another one of our great sponsors, and who kind of seems to be showing up every week.
Yeah, unfortunately, either live in the studio or to bring us breakfast, which is always really good.
Which I did give him a hard time about because he did not bring us any breakfast today.
This morning, really?
Look,
look, man, if you're going
to fall in the limo and I couldn't get out of the street and all that business.
I know,
so.
you know, but all those girls were just following me down the street, and I kept trying to tell them, be careful, but then all the guys are pulling up, and they're, you know, all want to get involved in the action. It's a rough morning this morning.
You know, if you're going to not bring breakfast when you're a guest, and only when you just show up randomly, then we're never going to
invite you anymore.
Yeah, we're never going to ask you to be a guest again.
all right.
Minimum standards here, you know. It's all your fault. You started doing it.
We enjoyed that Jason's Deli's those breakfast croissants.
That is correct.
They're awesome.
Chris,
he says that with such flair.
Yeah.
Yes, he's like, I enjoyed those breakfast croissants.
But anyway, we're talking about today.
One shameless plug, $47.50.
Yes. or a free breakfast.
Or a free breakfast.
There you go.
That is correct.
Your choice, Jason's Deli.
So back to our serious conversation. Or do we really want to talk about real estate today? It's a holiday weekend.
It's a holiday weekend. Yeah, it's just time to relax, let our hair down, have a good time, right?
Well, if you have some hair to let down.
I know, I don't have any right now. Well, I was talking to Joe, actually.
Who has even less.
One of my employees was just randomly comes into my office and says, "You didn't tell me we're off Monday?" And I'm like, I had the problem of assuming that you knew.
It's on all the calendars. It's a national holiday.
But to her credit, she said she used to work at a car dealership in their marketing department where they were all like double time on the hours for every holiday. So I was
Right.
like, okay, well, that's fair enough. But
I forget every holiday just because I work all the time. So it's one of those things that I'm like,
oblivious.
They reminded me on Friday, like, no, Monday we're not going to be here. I'm like, why not? And they're like, because it's a holiday.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, good deal. Okay, that sounds cool. I'll still be working somewhere.
Much earlier on Tuesday, right? Slave driver, Scrooge.
Far from it, fortunately.
No, I know. No, you're one of the most generous guys I know. So back to John
Back to
Dowdy.
the conversation.
We want to talk about this. We don't have to.
Isn't the theme,
It's our show.
isn't the theme today, what you don't know can hurt you?
It's kind of
Generically?
it's kind of a post inspection things, because a lot of times when you'll see something like I say, when Ashley Bowles, who again was one of our sponsors, will put something on an inspection report,
Right.
which might lead to another inspection.
Yep.
And
Best home inspector in town.
he's awesome.
He does
Yes.
a great job.
He is awesome.
And, part of what makes him really good, by the way, is he does all this on work on his home, so he knows everything behind the wall. Pretty crazy.
Very true.
I saw him last night. He just got finished pouring a slab for somebody.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, he's very, very, very
He has a
knowledgeable.
tendency to volunteer himself for projects. I don't know.
I can't wait to have a project to give to him.
Yeah, no. Makes two of us.
So, are we going to come back and talk to John, or are we just going to keep rambling on? Or
No. I was waiting for the question to come out. I'm absolutely fine. Yeah.
How about those Astros? I did watch the Little League World Series on just nothing to do with anything.
Yes. It was actually pretty good, by the way.
It was really good.
Yeah,
It was just
absolutely.
on. I randomly watched it. It was
Yes.
pretty impressive.
And they had that one girl who was really good,
Yes.
actually.
Oh my gosh, 71 mile per hour fastball.
Yes. Yep.
That's
So-
How old
insane.
was this kid?
Yeah.
She's like 12.
Holy
I'll tell you, if I
smokes.
put all my energy behind throwing a ball, I get like 40.
I'm with you. I'm like,
with a running start, right?
Yeah, with a running start, exactly.
The crazy thing was, and this is how, off the beaten trail we're going here, is that
Wow.
they said that in Little League, because of the smaller field, that that pitch is the equivalent of trying to hit a 91 mile per hour fastball because of the size of the field. It's a smaller distance. You're like a 12-year-old kid trying to hit a 91 mile per hour, ball.
Wow. I have a hard enough time hitting a 20 mile per hour ball.
You're right.
Or maybe one that's standing still.
I'm all for T-ball myself. So, anywho, how about the foundation repair?
Yes.
Well, going back to what we were talking about earlier, inspections can lead to other inspections. And what we see quite often is that a real estate inspector will go in and flag a home for foundation problems. That's not always a bad thing. Okay. Now, Ashley Bowles is an awesome inspector. I unfortunately have not had the opportunity of following up one of his inspection reports. However, what an inspector's job is to do is to alert the buyer or the seller or both parties of what the potentials are. Typically speaking, inspectors are not trained in every single field. So to do so, you'd spend a lifetime, and you need to get paid more than that
Right.
to do that. So what we'll do as a company, and what I've done for a long time, and what one of my colleagues, Brian Gilchrist, will do, he'll run in and evaluate a home based on an inspection report, actually make a site visit, and really put two and two together with it. What's going on? What is causing the movement? What's causing the signs of concern? What the potential risks are, and if necessary, what a repair plan is to go with it.
Yeah. Well, I actually had it happen. I live in a townhome, and it's a monolithic slab for all the units, one large slab.
Right.
And they
always
actually
fun.
Well, it wasn't fun for who had to repair it. But what they did is they went in and they did what they call internal repairs. In other words, they have to actually bust out a hole in your floor,
Right.
and my expensive tile, and they dug down. It looked like it was very strange to see people below my floor. I don't have a basement. It's like I can see them down there working, and they're about 6 or 8 feet down. And some of those.
That's probably a little much, but I mean,
It looked like 6 or 8
it
feet
might
from
look
my
like 6 or 8
perspective.
feet,
but
but no,
anyway,
it's-
they repaired that. But then they came back later on and repaired. They did an excavation of the house to repair the leaking plumbing, because this was built in 1982.
Right.
And so the pipes had broken, and so that's why the slab had an issue. A lot of times that happens, and there was some black pipe that was used back in like the 60s that actually kind of dissolves.
It's cast iron.
Yeah.
Usually.
And what happens is that the earth becomes the pipe. But that area of that house is going to be constantly very wet in that spot. So if you see that it's always wet in an area and you don't know why, sometimes it's a dissolved pipe. And that's when you start having foundation issues.
Right. Well, I mean, and it's always advised to homeowners, hey, go get your plumbing checked, get a hydrostatic test once every couple of years is what I advise, and just see if it's leaking. Make sure your pipes are in order.
Yep, I would totally, absolutely agree.
We're letting that one go.
I'm over here eyeballing Joe, going,
Let it
what's
go,
he got in the
let
bag?
Letting it go. Reminder of a conversation we had, I don't know, a couple shows
Last
ago.
time we had Permapeer on.
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
The time before last.
I don't know
Last
if
time
we can have
held our
these guys
composure.
on anymore. It just
Exactly.
spirals out of control.
It just spirals out of control right there.
It does.
But you know, one of the things though, we were talking about inspections and talking about post-inspection reports. A lot of times they'll note on there, drainage not draining correctly, or water pressure low, et cetera, et cetera. And then what they'll end up doing is they'll having, as you mentioned, saying, I need to have we're going to say a structural engineer to come in and take a look at this, et cetera, et cetera. A foundation actually does affect a lot of different aspects because of so many things that go into the foundation and go out to the street, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the foundation is probably, and I would consider it the single most important thing. Now, it's not the only important thing.
Yeah, I like roofs a lot too.
Yeah, roofs are good. Walls are good.
I like roofs.
ACs are nice, especially here in Houston. But as far as foundations go, I mean, if your foundation decides it wants to get a little crazy on you and wants to move around, everything else in the house is tied to that, whether it be your plumbing, your structural, load-bearing walls, your roof, everything else. So, I mean, that's where it can get a little tricky, and that's where people can get really, really frightened, is because, oh my goodness, my foundation's moving. I've had a little saying, we've got 3 F words we don't say in the real estate business: fire, flood, and foundation. And Rob's eyes got freaking huge.
I was going the complete opposite direction, by the way.
I think.
There's one more, yeah.
We have a
There's
7-second
probably a
delay
few more,
button,
but-
so
I'm about to get cut off the air here. Hold on.
Yeah, when you said that, everyone's like, "There's 3 F words." We're like, "Oh crap!" Our producer's sitting over there. She's like, "Oh my gosh, where is that button? I've never had to use it."
I thought we were referred to as the bad boys of Christian radio.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we can't be that bad though.
We're the bad boys, but we don't want to get a fine. Let me tell you that.
That's right. No, I mean, everybody's concerned about foundation problems. I mean, the biggest thing I can tell you to do is, look, if you've got questions, get an expert out there, because quite honestly, who studies foundations? Nobody.
Yeah. That sounds entirely boring.
No, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a lot of reports. I've seen a lot of reports where they'll say a cable's exposed. Talk about that a little bit.
Post-tension
cables.
Yeah. Usually what that means, now, not all the time. If you have one exposed through the float of the slab, then you got big problems. But
Or explain what the float of the slab is.
right, well, the float being the actual finished section of the slab, what you would consider your floor, your base floor. So if you were to rip up the carpet, rip up the tile, whatever floor covering you have, that would be what's what we call the float. Now, most of the time when we talk about post-tension cables being exposed, it's going to be on the very edge of the slab. Now, it's going to be the exterior beam, and the little concrete caps they use to cover it up and make it look pretty will fall out. Unless there's something sticking out of there, or there's a big nasty crack, or something goofy looking, those little concrete caps fall out all the time. They did it on my house. They'll do it on all of them.
Yeah, I see it on inspection reports quite a bit, but it needs to be replaced because you can start rusting.
Right, it can start rusting. It can start rusting the cable, and the easiest way to do that, you can contact a contractor. You can call people out to do that. I mean, and once again, without seeing your particular problem, if this applies to you, is
Toothpaste.
Yeah, toothpaste.
Toothpaste.
And you can get the tube, you just squirt it in there.
Squirt it in there, and
Yeah, putty it in a little bit.
That's
I'm
right.
not calling you guys to help me repair anything.
Bubblegum and toothpaste.
Oh, wait, that's only sheetrock.
MacGyver
It's
used
only
to
sheetrock.
do everything
That's
that way.
right. My bad.
Well, you see, you can go get you a spatula and just kind of you can run down to your local hardware store, pick up a bucket of hydraulic concrete, mix it up in a little tub, and dab it in there. It's an easy DIY kind of thing.
If you let it continue to rust, what could happen?
Well, the whatever locking mechanism they use can eventually rust, and it's got to get real bad before it gets to this. But it can eventually cause the cable to no longer anchor into the side of the slab. You can lose tension in it, and effectively that particular cable is no good anymore. And we can get into what the importance of those cables are later on.
We
I know
are
it's gonna
actually.
come up on break.
We are coming up against a break right now. You know, time flies when you're having fun or when you're running late. In my case, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me